Hello, Mr. Brown here, your science teacher. I make videos for students of all ages, and today, gather the family. We are going to talk about fungi. On the left, these are edible mushrooms. On the right, these are inedible mushrooms. How can you tell the difference? If you're walking through the forest, how do you know which ones to eat and which ones not to eat? Well, I'll tell you, never, ever eat mushrooms that you find in the forest, okay? They could poison you and you could die. So don't ever, ever eat mushrooms you find in the forest. All right, we got that taken care of out of the way. Let's talk about the evolution of fungi. These guys are pretty old. 460 million years ago, we start to see the appearance of kingdom fungi, and they conquered the land right along with early plants. So here we are back in the Silurian period, somewhere about 430 million years ago. Plants are beginning to invade the land, and right along with them, fungi are there. Now, this leads to an interesting question. Are fungi more closely related to plants, or are fungi more closely related to animals? Interestingly, the answer is animals. Fungi are not that closely related to plants. Now, if you take a look at them, fungi do not have chloroplasts. Fungi cannot perform photosynthesis. Fungi have their cell walls made of chitin and not cellulose. It's a big difference. And here's another big difference. You put a plant in a dark room, that plant's going to die. But fungi, they can grow all day with no sunlight whatsoever. So they are not plants. They are fungi. Now, when you see a mushroom growing, that's actually its reproductive structure. The main part of the fungi is probably underground in this big root system called hyphae. And the mushroom itself releases its reproductive cell, which is called a spore. That's how they reproduce. And these spores are everywhere. You breathe in right now, and you're probably breathing in some fungal spores. Okay, that's kind of gross, but it doesn't really hurt you. And they're everywhere, all the way up to the edge of space. There are millions of species of fungus out there. We've only discovered a couple thousand. So in your own backyard, you could find a species of fungus that has never been discovered by science before. If you do that, we're going to call you a mycologist, one who studies fungi. Kind of a cool, interesting little hobby, right? And like I said, you might stumble across a brand new species. Who knows, right? Here you can see a couple amateur mycologists collecting some pretty big fungi here in the forest. And then you got this guy who has gathered together a bunch of these big puffball looking mushrooms. Anyway, fungi have a very important role in the ecosystem. They are decomposers, and they help break down dead organisms. Like you see this dead log here. Give it a few years and the fungi will convert this log back into soil. So they do a very important job. Here you can see some fungi growing on a dead log, and also creating a home for a spider in there. Multi-purpose, that's cool. So fungi are pretty nice guys, right? Actually, some fungus can be parasitic. This poor insect breathed in some spores, and the mushroom started growing inside the body of the insect while it's still alive. Ew, that's gotta hurt as you slowly have this fungus growing inside of you. That is nightmarishly horrible. All right, well, it's not just animals. Fungi will go after plants. You see here a parasitic fungi going in and squeezing in through the cells of a plant. Not only that, some fungi will be parasitic on other fungi. Here you see one fungus attacking another fungus. Guys, take it easy. What are lichen? You know, we've seen these. You've walked around the forest and you've seen lichen growing on trees. What are they? Interesting. It's a mutualistic symbiosis. That means it's a partnership between fungi, bacteria, and a proteist called green algae. They are roommates, and they've been roommates together for many, many millions of years, and they get along quite well. So here you see a rock that's got some lichen growing on it, and lichen are an important pioneer species. They are, along with mosses, are some of the very first living things to start growing. So let's say you had a forest fire and everything got burnt. The lichens are some of the very first pioneers to get life going again. So that's interesting. Here's another interesting relationship. Termites have a mutualistic relationship with fungi. Termites will bring in leaves and plants and wood into the nest, but that's not what the termites eat. They use that to feed their fungus garden, and then they'll eat the fungus. They are mushroom farmers. That's interesting. Check down between your toes. If you see a little bit of red nastiness, you may have athlete's foot, which is a fungal infection. What are you going to do? You just go to Walgreens or Walmart and pick up some Tinactin or Dr. Scholl's foot spray, and it goes away. Not that big of a deal. I brought bread for everyone. Come on in, grab a piece of bread. It is still, wait a minute, you don't want to be eating this stuff right here. Yeah, why you should never eat moldy bread? That's easy. It'll make you sick. If you see this on bread, throw it away immediately. Okay, it will make you sick. So moldy bread, here we see it contains all of these components and spores and all this stuff that you really don't want. Even if you see the smallest little spot of mold, oh, I'll just scrape that off, right? The rest of the bread's fine. No, what you're not seeing is this big network of hyphae, and there's spores everywhere, and you're gonna get sick. So throw it away. Here's a microscopic view of mold. Again, part of the fungi family. We can see here a variety of different species of fungi growing here in this petri dish. I don't want to take the lid off of this dish. Keep that lid on there because this is a lot of fungus going on here. All right, here's our old friends mildew and mold. What's the difference between mildew and mold? I don't know. I was researching this for like half an hour and I cannot find the difference between mildew and mold. Um, all I know is that if this is what your shower looks like, you are doing something seriously wrong. That is a bunch of mold and mildew growing in there, and that's just yucky. In fact, if you get too much mold and mildew growing in a house like this person, you got to leave. It's going to be condemned. The city will kick you out, and they might even have to tear it down. That's how bad it is. But not all fungi is bad. Here is a fungi called yeast. Yeast belongs to the fungus family, and it's available in any store. You can go to Pick and Save and pick it up. So what are you going to do with this fungi called yeast? Well, this is how beer and bread are made. Yeah, beer and bread. This green mold here growing on this orange is the penicillium fungi, and it was discovered that it kills bacteria, and you can make it into a medicine called penicillin. This was big news back in World War II when the invention of penicillin really helped save a lot of people's lives, kills bacterial infections. Today, we have really understood how to make large quantities of this fungus and create a whole bunch of medicine called penicillin. Some fungi are very delicious and are safe and edible, and we put them on pizzas. Here's a pizza we ordered of mushroom extra mushrooms. Have you ever tried this before? You can try it. It's not going to hurt you. In fact, we told you never eat mushrooms from the forest, right? Never, never. But if you see it at Pick and Save or Sendix, if it's there, it's edible. Okay, if it's for sale at a grocery store, you can try it. So, add a little bit of butter, some salt and pepper, fry it up, give it a try. You might like it. Some mushrooms can bring in big bucks. These are called morels, and they grow wild. And restaurants will pay big money for them. They'll put them on the menu. And this guy right here is smiling because he's in for a payday. Restaurants will pay cash for this stuff. This is a type of fungus called the Aspergillus that helps to produce the tangy citric acid used in colas and soy sauce. Who would have known? Plants and fungi have had a relationship for many, many hundreds of millions of years. As the mycorrhizae you see here, that's fungus, working with the plant's roots together in a relationship to help both the plant do better and the fungus do better. All right, so here you can see what the roots look like with these fungus wrapped up in them, and it gives them a better chance of absorbing nutrients. This is kind of interesting. This is called a fairy ring, and somewhere in the center underground is the fungi, and it sort of radiates outward in a circle, and its fruiting structures sprout up, forming a circle. Here we can see a young kid kind of fascinated. Look at this neat little fairy circle. And keep an eye out when you go hiking through the woods. You just might spot your very own fairy circle. Thank you for joining me today, all about fungi.